Now we have it. Okay, so hello everyone. Again, thank you for joining us today. And if you didn't already hear me say happy early Earth Day, my name is Emily Reinhard, and I'm the Director of Sustainability Services for Great Forest, and will be moderating today's webinar. So our topic for this year's Earth Day is lessons from the world's waste. And that's from a Great Forest study on the characterization of solid waste in office buildings. And with us today are the authors of the paper on this topic, Anna Dengler, Senior Sustainability Advisor, and Liz Arrigo, the Director of Sustainability Analytics. So Anna will be presenting the findings and takeaways from the study. And this was published in the Journal of Solid Waste Technology and Management last year. And at the end of our presentation, we'll have a Q&A. So be sure, if you have any questions, to use the Q&A function on the taskbar and add your questions there. And we will get to as many as we can at the end. And also want to say that following up the presentation, we will send out a recording for those who can't make it, or if you want to share with colleagues, or watch a particular section over again. And we'll also be sending out resources. And there's always the opportunity to find those resources on Great Forest website too. But before we get started, I'd like to give a brief overview of Great Forest. So we are a waste consulting and brokerage firm, and our consulting work is focused on zero waste, circularity, and then related auditing and regulatory compliance support. And founded in 1989, we do have nearly 35 years of experience in the industry. And we're also data-driven. So the data is what provides our clients with a baseline from which to make decisions and work from. And because of that, that's what comprises the backbone of our work. And so the study, why we're all here, right? So using the data from hundreds of comprehensive waste audits we conducted across the globe, Great Forest conducted a study of office building waste. And so the study examines the material components of all waste streams, so the items placed within the trash, recycling, and organics waste streams. And from there, we could understand waste composition, user performance, and missed opportunities through that broader lens. And with that, I'll turn it over to Anna to present the results of the study.
Thanks, Emily. Yes, this was a major undertaking done by Great Forest, and this was Liz's brainchild. She was really the inspiration for this as our senior director, our director of analytics. And yeah, because we have so much data, we've had so many waste audits over the years, really being able to filter this down into one study that presents findings was really great, and we were able to come up with some interesting takeaways that we're going to talk about today. So first, I go over how we did this study. This is a summary of 100 plus waste audits done in 2019 or thereabouts. So this was pre-COVID, so this is a good snapshot of of buildings that were 100% occupied, so like fully occupied commercial office buildings. And this included sites around the globe, mainly in the US on the east and western coasts. And these were also Great Forest clients. So all of our clients tend to have some sustainability programs in place. So having that kind of background information going into this is a good way to frame, what kind of information we're looking at. So these are, forward-thinking companies. However, there's still room for improvement, and that's where we're getting this information. And all audits were, a 24-hour snapshot, usually taken midweek because of the nature of commercial office buildings. And these were large buildings with an average size of over 500,000 square feet. So our methodology, first on the audit side, how we do our audits, we look at the entire waste stream of the building from the daily waste. So taking apart each stream individually, trash, recycling, either that's mixed recycling or paper, glass, metal, plastic, those waste streams, in addition to organics. And we weigh that separately. And then we categorize all the materials within each waste stream, and we sort them into 20 plus categories. And each category is then weighed, and we're looking at, if it's recyclable, whether it's clean or soiled. Soiled meaning that is material that could be recycled if it was clean, but it is too contaminated that it would be rejected by the recycling facility. And so for our paper, we took all of these various audits and we looked at them. We looked at the composition, the waste characterization of the average building, but we also looked at how each building had maybe a program that fit either into a dual stream recycling program or a single stream recycling program. Some buildings had organic streams, others did not. So we looked at buildings by program as well as region. So looking from a average perspective, it was interesting to note that regardless of program, regardless of region, we found some things to be consistent throughout. And that is what I'm going to talk about now, which is the findings, the general findings from our study. So here's an image of a bag of trash destined for the landfill, and showing that 62% of that is material that could be diverted, either organic waste that could be composted or recyclable waste. And the remaining of that is residuals, items that don't have an easily divertible material or is unacceptable and shouldn't be in the waste stream at all. The first issue that I want to talk about is the overall amount of trash coming out of buildings. And I say trash specifically because the trash stream, as opposed to the recycling and organic streams, was the largest stream on average in comparison. So our study was able to identify materials in each of these streams, as I mentioned. And here you can see in the bar graphs what makes up each of these streams. So the bottom bar is the trash stream, and the green portion and the gray portion are the largest you can see there. Green meaning residual, meaning not easily divertible, and the gray meaning organic waste. And you can also see how a recycling stream such as cardboard, that yellow bar, is almost completely yellow. That means it's a very clean stream of just that material. But something like a recycling stream is going to have multiple materials, and that's expected. But we'll get into more of that in a bit. So just looking at trash alone, so trash really should just be 100% of that blue residual waste. However, we found obviously lots of organics, lots of recycling in this trash stream as well. And I think it's important to note that the majority of buildings did not have organics programs, but even those who did, just looking at the trash stream, the breakdown was similar. Consistently seeing about a third of the trash stream being organics. So the takeaway from this lesson is to understand what's in your trash. Even if you have an organics program, let's make sure that the organics program is making the dent it's supposed to make. And also, examine your waste hauler reports. Make sure that that's consistent with what you're seeing on the ground, and look at upstream purchasing to reduce your overall amount of waste. So now let's talk more about organics. This is the biggest opportunity, as I mentioned. So now we're taking a look at the entire waste coming out of a facility, and it's looking pretty similar to just the trash stream. The entire building's waste, about a third of that is organics. So we may not think of office buildings as having much organic waste, but this just proves that organics is there, and this is something that we need to pay attention to, whether it's in your home or in the office. So the main takeaway is we need to address this. This is a huge opportunity to make a difference in your waste program. So food donation programs, looking before the food is consumed, is there a lot of leftovers that could be donated? There are food donation programs out there. And then composting. After food has been consumed and there's leftovers, what can we do with that? Can we compost it? And I'm really excited about a new program that Great Forest has been working on. We have now tenant-based composting programs. So this is a service that we offer. So for buildings that have multiple tenants, it's often difficult to find a micro hauler, and we are now doing that for a number of our clients, finding micro haulers for specific tenants and making sure we understand how much organic waste they're generating and creating a consistent schedule for pickup. So it is possible. This is fairly new in the office building realm. The next lesson is good news. We know how to recycle cardboard. This is by far the best success story of recycling. Only 2 to 9% of cardboard in the overall waste stream was lost to trash. Of the entire waste stream, on the left, you'll see the pie chart of all waste. Of all waste, cardboard makes up about 11%. You'll see on the right, the bar graph, cardboard has the highest amount of material that's being recycled. So green means that the material was placed in the recycling stream. Brown meaning it was placed in the trash stream. So of all recyclable materials listed here, paper, cardboard, glass, metal, and plastic, cardboard is by far being diverted the best. So cardboard. Good job. So this is, reflective of a healthy cardboard market, first of all, and also indicative of how clean the material stream is. If a material is clean, that's going to be easily accepted from recyclers and being made into new materials or new products. Also, on the flip side, if cardboard is in the wrong waste stream, that's a red flag, and we need to make sure that those processes that led to cardboard being in the wrong waste stream are fixed right away, and it can signal other problems down the line as well. Now we're going to talk about the issues we found with plastic in building profiles. So here we have a recycling stream. This is all materials found in the recycling stream, including what we would expect: paper, glass, plastic, metal, as well as some residual, the trash aspect that finds its way into the recycling stream. This is mixed recycling. But what we'll see is that of all of these materials, the item that is most often soiled is plastic. And so that's what we have circled there. 10% of the recycling stream was soiled plastic. And that's, a good chunk of all the plastic that's being discarded. That's like a third of all plastic that's being discarded is soiled. So as we saw with cardboard, it was a clean stream, it's getting recycled. Plastic is the opposite. It's easily soiled, it's easily, it's always being used for containing, foods and liquids. So we got to make sure that when we're recycling these, that it's clean so it actually does get recycled. So yeah, and also just addressing plastics in general, making sure that, our purchasing programs reflect reusable items rather than disposable. A lot of plastic is just these single-use products that we want to get rid of. Looking at your vendor contracts and understanding, what can we change to make a difference and move away from the single use or the packaging, the excess packaging that's coming to your facility. Water bottle refill stations are a great way to reduce, the number of plastic water bottles in your site. And education. Education is really important, making sure people understand that if something is half full of food, it's not going to be recycled, so don't put it in the recycling bin. And the last lesson is on what doesn't belong in the trash, like ever. This is a chart of the material categories, not all the categories that we separate, but the main categories that we found in our study. And just, do you notice anything odd? E-waste and liquids, what are they doing there? They don't belong in the trash. They don't belong in the recycling. They belong in, the liquids belong down the drain, and e-waste belongs in its own container far, far away from the compactor. These are things that we know we need to do as people who work in the industry, but people outside of the industry don't necessarily think the way that we do. Getting people to empty out their liquids before throwing something in the trash, and getting e-waste, just recognizing that e-waste is something that can be recycled, but just not in the main GMP recycling program. That's an important message to get across. There was an event that I went to recently. I was standing next to the trash can, and a woman came up with 2 coffee cups full of coffee, and she just poured them into the trash can and then threw the cups in after. It's like, you knew to pour them out, but you poured them out in the wrong place. Someone's gonna have to lift that garbage bag. All right, so I reviewed recycling education is going to be important, signage, training, all of these good things. So that concludes the findings from our study. There's a lot more in our report. You can find the report in the Journal of Solid Waste Technology and Management, and we also have a summary of that report in the Facility Management Journal from March, April of this year. And you can read both at greatforest.com. And we also have lots of resources on our website, greatforest.com/resources. There's a food waste toolkit, zero waste toolkit, compliance guide, lots of case studies if you need inspiration. These are a great resource. And finally, we have a newsletter. If you're not already subscribed, you can subscribe to the 3 to 0 newsletter. We provide once a month 3 simple tips to get you excited about zero waste at your building, your business, or wherever you are. So thank you very much. I will conclude there.
Thank you, Anna. You're not off the hook yet, though. We do have Q&A. So let me just get all these questions together, make sure I'm looking at all the places. Okay, so we'll start with Liz. I have a question for you. What is the difference between hauler data and waste audit data?
Sure. So hauler data is what most people might be familiar with, because that is what's used by many buildings and companies to track their ongoing, maybe monthly metrics for their buildings. This data is just much less detailed than waste audit data. Hauler data is typically based on total waste generation from the different types of equipment that might be on site. For example, one trash figure for the month, a total tonnage, and that's the amount of waste coming out of your trash compactor, your trash dumpsters. And then there might be one total tonnage for the month for the waste being generated out of your recycling equipment, basically how much is being serviced out of these pieces of equipment on site. Where a waste audit actually will give you additional insight into what was within those bins and within those bags within the bins. The audits, we actually open up the bags, sort out all of the materials that are found within each of the streams, giving you insight into missed opportunities in the trash, how much recycling material was found in trash bags that could have been diverted, and the opposite, how much trash material was contaminating recycling streams. Another thing to note about hauler data could be that they're missing giving you that level of information about contaminated recyclables. They may just be marking entire loads as trash when really that material came from your recycling containers, and some of that could have been diverted if there was less contamination in the bags. So waste audits kind of give you that insight into how can we do better and give you more detailed about information about missed opportunities and kind of what's going right and also what's going wrong.
Thank you, Liz. We have a question. Anna, what is upstream purchasing?
Great. So when we're talking about zero waste, we're not just talking about the things you find on the loading dock in the compactor, like the trash end. We're also talking about materials that are new, but one day will be trash, and especially single-use items. So you go to the store, you buy a cup, a paper cup, that item will eventually be trash. So that is upstream. Prior to its being used, hopefully it is used before it's going in the trash. But when you're looking at upstream purchasing, you're thinking down the line, okay, am I buying a lot of single-use materials or products that will, inevitably end up in the trash stream? If you have a lot of single-use products, are they recyclable? Are they divertible through an organics program? Do we have an organics program that accepts these materials? You want to be paying attention up front before the trash is actually created. So that's upstream.
Yes, following the waste hierarchy, right? We talk about recycling so much, but reduction is the top of the hierarchy, right? In that it's most important, then reduce, then recycle. So yeah, upstream is, when we think about it, it's further up the hierarchy. So let's see here. So the study shows how much waste goes into the trash isn't actually trash. What can we do to improve our performance?
Well, yeah, there's a lot to be done. And I really do want to say this, like, we're Great Forest, we've been around for a long time, we've got very knowledgeable consultants, we do a lot of work on this, but there's so much that needs to be done. We really need everybody on this call to start, making incremental changes today, like on site. Like, it's not just, okay, I'm putting the right thing in the right bin. It's also following that trail down to, is it being picked up by the hauler that is actually going to recycle this material? Is it being handled appropriately within the building? Is the program that you have in place actually functioning the way you think it's functioning? Like, when we throw things away, it's, away. We don't think about it anymore. We have to start thinking about it. We have to start thinking about what the away is. And, having a consultant like Great Forest can help with that. But if we have people, wherever you are in your day-to-day life, thinking about these things, asking questions, that's where to start, really, is to start asking questions. Ask, where is it going? Is it being recycled? Does it have, is it able to be recycled? Where is it going? Who's handling it? Who's picking it up? Start with asking questions. And then there are obviously things that you can do to actually improve your program. So making sure your program is functioning the way you think it's functioning is the first step. And then make improvements. And one of the more exciting programs, as I mentioned, is the micro hauling of organic waste for a lot of companies that over the years have asked us, I want to start an organics program, but we're just one tenant in this big building. Now you have your opportunity to start an organics program, and we can help you with that. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited just to have everybody on this call that is interested in this subject and is really working towards making a difference with us.
Yes, we'll be happy to see, at least in New York, the rollout of organics citywide come next year, at least on the residential side, right? And so speaking of the residential side, actually, we have a question related to that. So the question is, I'm in an apartment, we have a single trash chute. That's an unfortunate thing we so often see. I separate my recyclables in a separate bag. Can I request trash data from the management company? You can, right?
Liz, do you want to talk about collecting waste data?
Yeah, it's always challenging to collect waste data. That's always an issue businesses have, let alone in the residential side. But we do always, even with our own clients who may not have historically received or requested waste hauler data, the first place to start is by asking, like creating a demand for that information, holding these waste haulers accountable to report this type of information, like showing them there's an interest and need and that there's a value on their end for providing it too. People want to know this information, and it can be positive on both ends, more insight for people who are disposing of waste, and positive for the waste hauler too, that it could result in perhaps actually doing recycling collection at buildings where it might not actually be happening at, in the loading dock or where waste collection is happening. You might be separating at home and thinking you're doing the right thing, but asking for metrics can push your building to perhaps recognize that recycling isn't happening, or if it is, how much is happening.
Exactly. And like, where is it going, right? Is it the city that's picking it up? Is it a private hauler? Depending on what building you're in, there's different services, but yeah, figuring out kind of the what happens next. I think, Anna, you mentioned how there's this tendency to kind of toss something and then forget it exists, right? So kind of going against that inclination is very useful. Okay, so how do we register, sign in to the client portal on the Great Forest website? Well, if you are a current client, you should have a login information. So if there is a specific need, definitely reach out to us. I would recommend emailing recycling@greatforest.com so that we can handle that individual request, because certainly if you should have access, we want you to have access to the portal.
And we can also, if you reach out to that same email, share a sample login so you could see what information you'd be able to access through our portal if you aren't already set up as a client.
So thank you, Liz. Okay. So another question, are you offering composting to all your clients? What if our LL is not interested in the compost program?
Well, so the composting program is going to be regional. It depends on whether a composting hauler is servicing your area. So it depends is the answer to that question. Obviously, if there is an opportunity to compost in your area, we want to make sure that happens for you. So that's where that comes in. But yeah, I mean, waste is just very local. It's very specific to, who's servicing your area and what facilities can take the material.
And as we've seen in New York, right, it's not always composting. Sometimes it's biodigestion. There are other sources for beneficial use of food waste and various types of organic material. But surely we love composting.
And also there's opportunities for food waste donation for food that can be used.
Absolutely. And yeah, so any of those type of things, we work to connect clients with the right vendors. Okay. Can you tell us more about solutions to food waste or how you implement an organics program?
How to implement an organics program. I mean, the first step is knowing that you have organics that can be diverted. So understanding, what is the organic material that is making up, a third of your waste stream. It could be, catering. It could be a cafeteria. It could be outside food waste. People bringing in food from the outside, just on an individual basis, not on a company level. So identifying, the source and the volume, the amount is the first step. So then you can really target, okay, if it's catering, maybe there's an opportunity to do some food donation programs. If there are other ways, if there's a cafeteria involved, then we want to look at back of house diversion. It's very clean stream of, back of house organics. If it's outside food waste, it's the most challenging, but it's being done. There are companies that have containers. I mean, there are also campuses that have, the trash container, the recycling container, and the compost. And if you have compostable materials, if you have organic food waste, people will use it, and people do get excited about that.
You. Another question for you, Liz. Can audits be customized to address specific goals or improvement opportunities?
Yeah, definitely. So even like Anna's talking about an organics program, if you know of a certain problem, or you know that there's a certain material that your business or office generates a lot of, and you want to find a solution because you want to find, your biggest impact would be looking at what's being generated the most and how to divert that or eliminate that. So while in general, what we presented today was more of the typical material types, glass, metal, plastic, paper, cardboard. If your business has a specific material that you want to eliminate or address, and you want to assess how much is being generated, we can certainly highlight that, whether it's food scrap waste, because there's an outlet, because there's a local vendor who will remove that to be composted offsite. If you're a business who just feels like you're spending an exorbitant amount of money on paper cup purchases and having, staff is using those cups on a regular basis, and you want to justify making a change, that those specific materials can be flagged during a waste audit, so that we can show what percentage of your waste is that material, what the impact would have of removing that material or properly recycling it or finding a divertible street outlet for that material. So definitely it's customizable based on what problem you're looking to solve.
Yeah, and to that, I'll just add, since we do this in the Great Forest office, where, we used to have paper towel waste. We have data on how much paper towel waste we had. We no longer use paper towels, and we're able to use that as a reduction opportunity when we're calculating our diversion rate, right? So if you're looking for true certification, that's kind of an avenue that's really helpful. If you have those numbers about what you've reduced, that can support your program and highlight all the good things you're doing to try to reduce waste and further divert various waste streams. So I think we have one more question. Anna, were there any surprising findings from the study?
I mean, for the most part, this study really confirms what we all feel is happening in the industry. We all feel like there's a lot of trash coming out of buildings, and that is true. And we also know that a lot of recyclables are not getting recycled. But this study provides actual firm numbers to that, so we can have a goalpost, be like, this is where we are, and we know what we need to do to make improvements. And I think it is surprising the amount of organics coming out of the buildings, because when we think of office buildings, we don't necessarily think of the food waste or the organics that is being generated there, especially if there isn't a cafeteria or back of house, generating food waste. Food is coming into the building. Organic waste is coming into the building. There is an outlet for that, and we need to take that seriously. I feel like there was something else, but for the most part, I think this is just the study that we can hang our hat on and be like, this is where we are. Let's make a difference.
Yes, yes, lots of food waste. And I'm just trying to make sure I'm not missing any questions. And this might be a hard answer or a hard question to answer, but do you have any thoughts on how often conducting a waste audit might be useful?
Great question. So a lot of our clients will do an annual waste audit, or they will do a waste audit prior to implementing a program and then do a follow-up waste audit after that's been implemented so you can gauge improvements. I don't think there's a hard and fast answer to this. It depends on what you're trying to achieve. But doing a waste audit on a regular basis, whether that's annually or every couple of years, to observe the changes, when there's a big change happening in the building, whether you meant to have an impact on your waste or not, any big changes will be a good indication that a waste audit should take place.
Yeah, something we've seen a lot more of in recent years is that move to centralized waste bins, right? So sometimes we see audits where it's the before and after removal of dust side bins and moving towards, a centralized bin system exclusively, and what kind of result that has on the waste stream and generation and performance and all that good stuff. So if there aren't any additional questions, just want to do one last look to make sure everyone's getting what they need. But of course, always reach out to recycling@greatforest.com if there are particular questions about this webinar, about other waste related stuff.
I will just, sorry, Emily, just I did want to also mention, for those folks who are wondering, what's the next step? After a waste audit, it's really important to look at what's happening, not just upstream, but what's happening with your recycling and waste diversion program within your space prior to it heading to custodial and the loading dock. So understanding, do you have the right bins in place? Do you have signage? How are your communications to staff? Looking at all those items, and that is a service that Great Forest provides as well. Our infrastructure assessment or scorecard, we do that for practically all of our clients who do waste audits. We do that as well, and that is a great complement to the waste audit to really get a good understanding of what your next steps are.
Absolutely, yeah. The end result isn't the whole picture, so it's helpful to see what's happening internally, of course, in conjunction. So yeah, thank you for pointing that out, Anna. So yes, thanks everybody for joining us today. Certainly check out the study on our website, and we will be following this presentation up with a recording, as I said earlier, and also resources. So thanks again, and always feel free to reach out if you have any other questions. Thanks, Anna. Thanks, Liz. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a happy Earth Day.